George Clooney and Brad Pitt's new movie, Wolves, is on Apple TV Plus September 27th.
That's where I want you to be now.
So if you want to see George Clooney and Brad Pitt, go to Apple TV Plus.
You got to start the story there.
Or if you want to see Brad Pitt and George Clooney, go to Apple TV Plus.
I am enjoying the show.
And if you want to see their new movie, Wolves,
You can't do it, I'm going to help you out. I can do it, so do it.
definitely go to Apple TV Plus.
Admit it, it's cool. Okay, fine, it was very cool.
Wolves, streaming September 27th on Apple TV Plus. Rated R.
What is Cafe Mocha? Cafe Mocha is experts, celebrities.
What's up? This is Belle Biv DeVoe.
Yours truly, Idris Elba.
This is Fantasia.
This is In Vogue.
This is India Ari.
So much more. All from a woman's perspective.
What flavor are you, baby?
This is Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha with Emmy Award-winning talk show host Lonnie Love, hip-hop legend Yo-Yo, and I'm the producer Angelique. His latest project is called The Deliverance on Netflix. We're talking to the director of the supernatural horror, Lee Daniels. And I just want to say to the people who see the word horror and say, oh, I'm not watching this. This is not that kind of horror. This is like a spiritual horror. This is like a psychological horror. And so you should watch it because, as Lonnie said to me, because I saw horror and I was done. And Lonnie was like, oh, it's only scary when you get to the end. But yeah, Lonnie, you were at the premiere. How was that?
Yeah, I was able to go to the world premiere of The Deliverance, and everyone that was in the movie was there. Andra Day is the star, and you had Glenn Close, you had Monique, you have the children that are in there, and of course Lee Daniels was there. I didn't know what to expect with this movie. I didn't realize that it was this type of genre, but it's about a family living in a home in Indiana, and it discovers a strange demonic occurrences that convince them and the community that the house is some type of portal. And this is based off of a true story of a family that happened. So and we'll be talking to Lee later on, but they take this story and they add these characters, and then you have this wonderful story. And it's more, to me, when I saw it, it was more about faith. I was interested to see what the public, once it was released, what they thought about it. And there were a bunch of memes. If you're online, you probably saw it. You probably saw.
What were the memes? Tell me the memes.
Like some of the memes was the Glenn Close character, which what happens is it's not Glenn Close. It's not her character, but it's that spirit, that demonic spirit that gets into her. And she has like no hair. And she says something really crazy to the Andra Day character. And you know what I'm talking about. And so people, you know how we do, we make memes of everything.
Yeah.
And that was just one of the things. And then also there is a point where one of the children is a Monique scene, and Monique is the social worker, and she goes in and the child is in the hospital, but the spirit gets into the child and the child crawls up on the ceiling, and it becomes a meme. So this was the first movie that I know of that is a Black movie that had so many memes, that had people talking, and they were talking because of the fact that it was it was something different, I think. But the Glenn Close character had everyone talking. Glenn Close.
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, she is an acting legend.
Yes.
Secondly, this had to be a lot of fun for her because she plays Andra Day's mother. They can't stand each other. And she is this white ghetto lady who, what would you call her?
I would describe her. I described her as Glenn J. Blige. Like she's that neighborhood,
round the way girl
that loves, Black people, especially Black men. She's got the cutout outfit and
the
all
earrings,
the earrings,
the ripped jeans. I I had that woman and her daughter living behind me when I grew up in North Carolina.
Cool, and they sweet and cool and everything.
Exactly.
And it's just so many scenes with Glenn Close. And it was funny because after the movie we had screened it, I saw Glenn Close at the after party and I said, well, what did you think of the movie? And she was like, this is not the cut that I saw. This is so much better. Like, I was like amazed. And so she really enjoyed her character. She also said that this was a new character for her. She's never played something like this. But she says once you put on those clothes, like you put on those tight jeans, and there's a scene where she has on these cutoff shorts. She says you have to embody the character. It's no time to be thinking about your body or your stomach or whatever. The character just comes with those clothes. So it was things like that. But I also want to give props to Andra Day. Andra Day, is such a phenomenal actress. I mean, we already know that she's this great singer, but she really carries this movie. And I think you're going to see that throughout the whole movie. And it shows you why she was nominated for the Billie Holiday story, which was directed by Lee Daniels as well. But to see her in this, there's this one scene at the end that she actually had improvised some things where she's speaking in tongues, and that's how much that she got into it. So the Deliverance really is an interesting film. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to say that the Billie Holiday movie was really dark, and afterwards she said she had some personal difficulty because she went to such dark places. And as I'm watching her cuss out her mama and semi-abuse her kids, I'm thinking this is dark too. And I wonder, you were there, we saw the pictures of you on the red carpet with Andra. Did she give you any insight to how she dealt with this as an actress?
Well, I think that because of what happened with the Billie Holiday story, she was able to recover. And that's why you see when you'll do a project like this, because I've done projects where it was a horror movie and you have to remember it's a character and you take yourself out of that character. You do whatever you do. You may go on vacation, you do something to get yourself back to who you are and out of that mentality in that dark place. And that's what Andra did. And immediately when she saw me, her face lit up, we hugged, we kissed, and I'm just happy that I'm at this moment that I can support so many people. That's what I think my mission is right now. To be able to see Monique and even, I haven't seen.
Wait. I'm sorry. I have to bring up that airplane reunion that went viral with you and Monique. I'm like, wait a minute. Go ahead. Tell them about it. For anybody that didn't see it.
It was the after party, and the after party, they still have the red carpet out. So Monique went on the red carpet to take some pictures. And she said, Lonnie, come on over here, because we've been hanging out all night. And it was just so good to see her. She was in such a good space and everything. And I was telling her how great she did in the movie. And then she just starts, we film it, and she just starts talking about, I've been knowing Lonnie for 2 decades. And I was like, yeah, we've been there. And we just started doing a little Soul Plane reunion. And a lot of people, either don't know or forget that I was her partner in Soul Plane. It was Jamaica and Shanice, and I was Shanice. And we did like a little comical thing. It was totally improvised. And I, of course, with me and my IG, I just put it up, not thinking about anything. I just thought it was cute. And it totally went viral and people appreciated it. They could see the love that we have for each other, and the respect that we have. So, like I said, I go to these events to really support especially our Black films, because they need the help of the spreading the word. And so that's what I try to do. And so the Deliverance, I was happy to see that it was #1 on Netflix. You will hear how this is Lee Daniels' first studio picture. That's very, very important, a studio picture, and for it to be his first.
So that means basically that instead of him doing it independently by himself, he had, a studio weighing in and stuff like that. Is
Well,
that
the
what it means?
studio puts up the money, so they're the boss. When you do it independently, you have producers and things, but you have more freedom to do certain things. But I mean, to be honest, I think for him to get Glenn Close, he had to have a studio. I mean, it's just the money that you put into it. So, but yes, definitely everybody check out The Deliverance. It's on Netflix right now. And we'll be talking to Lee Daniels in a few.
Thanks, Lonnie. Up next, we're talking to Lee Daniels about The Deliverance. It's Cafe Mocha.
Standing in solidarity from a woman's perspective. It's Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha with Lonnie Love, Angelique, and Yo-Yo. The Deliverance is a new movie that is about a mother and her children, and they're possessed by the devil. Is currently #1 movie on Netflix. And right now on Cafe Mocha, we have the director, the one and only Lee Daniels. Welcome to Cafe Mocha, Lee.
Thank you for having me, my baby.
I was, full disclosure to all of our listeners, I was able to go to the world premiere of The Deliverance. And it was just a wonderful family, beautiful event, Lee Daniels. It was so good to see you and all of the ladies. And the movie has blown up. First of all, let me go back. The Deliverance is your first studio movie. Why did you choose Netflix for your first studio movie?
Ain't that something? Because I wasn't going to, as I mentioned at the premiere, I didn't really want to work with them. I was nervous about working with, I wanted to do it as an independent film because just over my career, I've never done a film that, I've never had to answer to anybody. I didn't want to work for anybody. I like to do me and then sell myself after. But I'm really happy I did it with them because they were really supportive of me. They let me do my thing, Lonnie. They let me do my thing. And because it's very specific, you know what I'm saying? This movie is for our culture. And there are many people that don't understand it. If you're not in it and you're not from it and you don't understand these people and this woman and this white woman that lives in this black world and this and all of these and Miss Bruce and it's a very specific movie for our culture, and so I didn't want anybody sort of stepping on my toes trying to tell the story, if that makes any sense.
Right.
No, I know how it can be, and being this great director, I think you did the right thing with choosing Netflix because I love the way it came out. But the film is based on a true story. So how did you come across the story, Lee Daniels?
It was right after Precious, and my director, my producer was like, I really want you to do this movie. And I didn't really want to do a horror movie because I know how I work. I know that I don't want spirits jumping on me. And I just didn't want to mess around like that. And so I let it sit for how long? Precious was 17 years. So I let it sort of sit. And then I realized that the times we were in are really dark. And, that we're even in a conversation right now where African Americans are questioning Kamala Harris being the president. When people are that confused about where we are right now in the world, we're in dark times. And I just felt like, look, I think that we need to find the light. For me, it's Jesus Christ, and so my intent was really to scare you to your higher power. For me, to scare people to Jesus.
It's Cafe Mocha talking to Lee Daniels. The Deliverance is on Netflix right now. I read a long article in the Indie Star about the family that this is about, the Ammons family. And it seems like their story is even scarier than what you put together. How did you decide what to include and what not to include?
Because of the problem is that we're dealing with real kids. You know, that was the dilemma that I had because the script was darker than the film. But when it came to directing those kids, they were kids. And I couldn't, even though they had agreed to the script, I couldn't put them through. I wasn't going to put them through that. And so I backed away. It was the first time in my career that I backed away actually from being completely true to the script, which was true to their story. And I felt that I just didn't want to do it to the kids.
Yeah,
I
those
couldn't
kids
do it.
go through it. They go through
you know,
it.
it's like, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Well,
So the kids saved the movie from being darker. The kids saved the movie from being even, you know.
They saved it from being going even, because we know you, Lee.
Yeah. You know Jay, you know I will. I ain't got no problem with that. But I just didn't want to do it to them kids because I have kids of my own and I just didn't want to do it to them.
Well, you were able to put together this wonderful award-winning cast: Andra Day, Ingenue, Ellis Taylor, Monique, and the wonderful Glenn Close. Lee, why do Black women and white women trust you so much?
It must be nuts. I don't know. I think because I don't pretend to be, I don't pretend to have all the answers. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I really don't know what I'm doing. I know the truth when I see it, but I don't come in telling them this is what you got to do. This is how we going to do it. My way or the I don't play that game. As a director. We're searching for the truth in the moment, and I think that makes them feel safe. And when you have artists that are safe, you get the performances that you see on screen.
That's what I love about it. And what I love about this movie, I felt like, because I don't really like horror movies, but because it was you, I said I trusted you enough. And to me, it wasn't a horror movie. It was more, it was a religious movie to me. And it really made me question my faith. But it was also, you had some deep stuff between Andra's character and Glenn Close's character. And let's talk about that because, all kind of memes came out with it. And I think that helped for people to really look at the movie. And, there was a statement about the Glenn Close character that you made. Can you explain that? Because I understood it, but let everybody know what you meant when you said that statement about Glenn Close's character, Alberta.
Here's the thing. Maybe not the fabric of certain Black people's community, but there was Alberta in every neighborhood I knew growing up.
Yeah.
So when I say fabric, I mean, whether that's a positive or a negative, I'm not going to deny the existence of this woman's being. She existed. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I guess the interpretation is what defines fabric. Fabric means that she's in every neighborhood. Mm-hmm. That somebody knows in Alberta. You know what I mean? And if you don't know in Alberta, your cousin know in Alberta.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant. And I mean, I'm not glorifying her at all. I'm giving
you're paying homage.
I'm giving her a life.
Yeah.
I'm paying homage. Same way I did with the same way I do with Miss Lawrence. That I put her in my movies. The same way I did with Precious. Like we all know a Precious. I like to give a voice to people that don't have a voice, and I'd like for people to be seen that are not seen, and that's what I like doing when I'm telling my stories.
How can we get Andra Day another Oscar nomination? Because she was fantastic in this movie.
Wasn't she the best?
She was the
Wasn't
best.
She simply the best. I don't know, man. I hope that she gets nominated. It would be nice. But listen, it doesn't. I think that the work, we don't do it for the awards. Honestly, we do it for people like you just saying, doesn't she deserve it? So I think that the minute you start thinking that, then then you disappoint. I remember that I did The Butler.
I love that
Butler,
movie.
right? And wait, so all these people, I was on the red carpet. They said, "Oh, you getting ready to you getting nominated, Lee? You getting nominated? Everybody getting nominated." And then we didn't get nominated, and then I got my feelings hurt because everybody was saying you were getting nominated. But then I was on the red carpet, and the same people were saying, like, the lady said, "How does it feel not getting nominated?" I said, "You said I was getting nominated. I never said I was getting nominated." you're the one that said it, so you built me up. So no, I really, we don't do it for that. We do it. It's nice, really, if something does come out of it, but we really do it. I do it for the culture. I do it for my mom, and I do it for my family, and I do it for Black women primarily, because I don't think that this particular woman was not heard. And for this right here, I did it for my sister and so many other Black women that when they tell you it's happening, it's just happening.
And your reunion with Monique was one that we just all enjoyed and loved. Why did you make that happen, Lee? And how do you feel about it?
I think for one, I miss her. Okay, I was mad because I was missing her. Okay, that was the first thing. But the irony was that and then I forgot why I was even mad. Like what? Like where? Why are we fighting? And then this guy, Courtney, gave me this movie, this horror movie that he was working on. I help a lot of young filmmakers and to make their films better. And this kid gave me his film that she was in, and it was another horror film. And I didn't know that Monique was in the film. I was just helping his brother out. And I spent 6 months working on the movie, editing his movie for him in my part-time. And I realized that, that as I was helping him, how great Monique is in the movie. Y'all see that movie that she was in? What was that movie called? The movie that she was killing her kids?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can't remember the name, but I remember it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was helping him on that little film. And I realized I couldn't, and I just finally called her. I said, listen, I am working on your movie. I've been working on it for 6 months, and it's ridiculous that we're not speaking. And I really wanted it to be public. I wanted everybody to know that it's important to. Part of my journey in making people find the light was me finding the light and me actually coming to terms with my faults and whatever it was that I did to hurt my friend, because I love her. And I don't want anybody to I didn't have any ego when it comes to, I never had any ego when it came to her. Why was ego stopping me? What was that about? So I had to take a look at myself, and I'm happy I did.
You're a great person, Lee. I don't know if you remember, but this was at least 15 years ago. You were doing a movie with Zac Efron, and you called me in to audition. And I only went in because I wanted to meet you, and I wanted to fill on Zac Efron, and you allowed that to happen. So thank you.
Lottie, you ain't for that.
You looked at me. You said, I didn't think you're a lot younger than I thought, because it was like for a 75-year-old woman, and I went in.
Yeah. Lottie, I remember.
I love it. Y'all, The Deliverance is now on Netflix, directed by Lee Daniels. Thank you so much for your time, Lee, and much more success. Y'all have to check it out on Netflix right now. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you, guys. God bless you.
Bless you
too. Bye-bye.
We're talking to Lee Daniels, trying to scare people into reconnecting with Jesus. The Deliverance is currently streaming on Netflix. This is Cafe Mocha.
We're at Cafe Mocha Radio. Socially savvy on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Serving up more Cafe Mocha on the way.
Art tells a story, your story, and inspires others in your community to do the same. AARP is celebrating the undeniable impact and contributions of Black art and artists everywhere. We're thrilled to celebrate these creators over 50. Through their work and persistence, they make society a better place by bringing us all closer together. Learn more at aarp.org/blackcommunity.
Standing in solidarity from a woman's perspective. It's Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha. She's known as the godmother of fashion. Beth Ann Hardison was a model in the 70s, fought for diversity in the fashion industry in a documentary called Invisible Beauty. And it tells her story. Welcome to Cafe Mocha, Beth Ann Hardison. How are you?
Thank you so much. I am feeling pretty good. I woke up this morning, so that was exciting.
You know, it's always exciting when we wake up. You know, first of all, I just want to commend you, but we want you to take us back, because a lot of listeners who aren't in the fashion industry, they don't know the really important people that made the revolution possible. Take us back to when you were modeling, and what was it like being a Black woman?
Well, that was easy. I grew up in the garment business, so that was easy. I was educated by the Jewish people who ran that business, and I'm very proud to come from the garment industry. As a Black woman, I mean, I was a young woman, I'd say a little bit over a girl, and so I didn't seem to have anything other than they just believed in me, and they just kept giving me a different opportunity. Even when I would mess up at a job, they would say, okay, let's take her out of that department. Let's try over here. And so I always had a great deal of support and people who always believed in what I was capable of doing that I didn't think I was even capable of, but they all believed in me and helped me to get where I think it gave me a good bit of like foundation to add to whatever I already had, to give you the opportunity to learn and grow and have confidence, because people believe in you, even though at the time I couldn't see what they believed in. Mm-hmm. But I think as I reflect back, I get a better grip of it all. It's like in hindsight, even with writing the book, you sit there and you start to talk, you realize the things that that you're dealing with and where you come from, because you don't know where you come from when you're in it, mm-hmm. So it's been very interesting for me even to complete the film, and to watch it when you do all the work, and then Frederick says, okay, I got 7 hours, I love. I'm going to show you. Frederick Chang is my co-director, and he says, I'm going to show you 4 hours of it, and I want you to tell me what you think. He was so nervous to show it, but that's when I became a believer. I said, okay, now I see I have a story, because up until then I couldn't see the clarity of any story. So being a Black woman growing up in the garment district was quite different, because it wasn't like I was, I had roadblocks and terrible moments where people weren't allowing me to get any place. They were constantly pushing me forward.
How were you treated as a model, even though you weren't the so-called light-skinned model?
Oh, yeah. I mean, in general, yes, all good. But there was just that beginning when I started to go across the road, across 7th Avenue where all the top designers were at the time. And I did that first show where basically I had never done that before. And I was like the new wave. I was a kid who came along that looked so different than what the average brown girl or Black girl was looking like at that time. They were a little bit more conservative and more sophisticated looking. And I was a little bit like more of an edgy kind of, you could see it was a different time was getting ready to happen. And so I had that experience. I never thought it was because I said it to people often. I never thought it was because I was Black. It's just that when I walked out, I think I just shocked the audience, They were so surprised by what I looked like. They hadn't seen anything that looked like me before in those particular instances where it was in the showrooms. Because at that time, designers back in the day, they presented all their collections in the showroom. I think really, there may be a couple of times in Paris you wish that you'd gotten a certain gig that you didn't get. But still in all, at that time, there was still a mixture of people in different colors. So you couldn't blame it on you being your race. It could just, you blame it on, they just don't like me. Oh, I'm not their type. Oh, I didn't get booked for that, like that.
Let me ask you this. There's been a long-standing rumor, probably a fact, that Vogue and other magazines don't want to put a single Black woman on the cover because the magazines don't sell. Do you see that changing? And what do you think of today's models when it comes to diversity?
Well, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of models of color. That's for sure. And some of the Asian girls are finally coming back. I'm happy to see that. But there was a time where, people say, oh, you don't believe that. Well, it's an unfortunate thing to say, but I did believe it, because I know oftentimes when society starts to change, then things start to change. And I think at that time, if you went to, there's not going to be a lot of white people going to go see a Black film, a film that's all cast of all people. They're not going to, that's not going to be the first thing they go to watch. So I could almost imagine that, if they had to do the sales and do the figures, that maybe if a magazine with a girl of color on it, they wouldn't think that it's being done for them, or they wouldn't think that it's right for them, or it's not speaking to them. I can imagine that was true. But in the same sense, we couldn't let that stop us from helping to change and help to educate the minds of others. So the idea really was to, if they get used to seeing things, that's why I use the model industry and the fashion industry. If they get used to seeing, girls and boys of color on the runway, in the editorials and advertising, then it gets to be normal. And it has happened that way, where now it's, not such a, you see so many girls of color, so many boys, especially coming mostly out of West Africa too. I mean, so many. And it's been going on, I'd say, nicely since 2015 for sure. It happened. It started in 2014, but I could say that the discovery of the African girl, I mean, that's very strong. Mm-hmm. So I think right now we're in a place where people are, have embraced it. Businesses have embraced, because the clothes look good on the kids, and no one's saying, "Oh my God!" No one is going back and making them feel uncomfortable, because everyone's doing it.
Definitely, they've progressed. It's Cafe Mocha online. Beth Ann Hardison. She's known as the godmother of fashion. Her new documentary, Invisible Beauty. Can you tell us about this wonderful documentary? How exciting is it to have a documentary about you and your life?
Where I keep thinking there are gains. Like, there are certain places that, it happens where you say, whenever I was thinking about making a film, before it was a film about Beth Ann, I always would hope that, I wouldn't mind being with Magnolia. I used to say that because I love what they chose, And so you do this almost like a duty. You don't do it like, and you gain pride after if it's complete and people want it. Like when we got selected for Sundance, or when we got selected, to show to an all teenage audience. You're being shown constantly that what you've done is something special, and that it's good, and it's a crowd pleaser.
But this is your history. This is like, I just feel like everybody should document themselves. And for something like this fashion, which we've seen people of color, struggle in, and we're talking about at a time, like you said, your perspective, that's why I wanted to talk to you first before I actually watched it, because I wanted to really hear your perspective from it. And now I'm getting something totally different from you, because your confidence and the way you feel about yourself, and I can imagine back at that time, I can see why you made it. It's like, to be just totally
honest. Meant to. It wasn't anything I did extra. It's just that I was meant to. It's destiny. I really mean it. Yes, you come on the earth, you have the right stuff. You got the right deck of cards. You're going to play them because you got the right deck. It's because it's destiny. And there are different people come on earth to do different things. And I knew, especially when I started writing, I recognized all the things I had achieved. By the time I was 12 years old, I was thinking about, but the way I was, the freedom that I had, because I was a latchkey kid, and the things I would be interested in. I never had grandmother and mother that was like a helicopter people. I literally believe that many of us come to earth to do certain things. And so in this particular case, that's it. I could say that many people say it when they watch the film, how graceful. So many people use that word, the grace you had to do while you did what you did. And that's interesting to me, because it wasn't aggressive. They could see that I was doing it, but I was determined to hit the nail on the head, because I believed in who I was poking, so to speak. But who I was talking to, I believed that once I said, you keep doing this is racism, I knew that was going to flip the switch, because I didn't think anyone in the industry really thought of themselves in that way. And so I think, it's something that you really basically get an opportunity to see in a different way, because now that the film is finished, of course, I can look back and I learned a lot about me too, watching it. I forget a lot of those things that happened 30 years ago. You learn, but as you were coming along, I had much more patience about who and what those who I sort of, nicely attacked back in, say, even 2013, and then imagine how I looked at something in 2007. And then before that, in the mid 90s, because you're growing too, and the industry was changing. Mm-hmm. So you had to figure out how to approach it in different ways.
Here's your dose of espresso. Strong, hot news now.
This is the Espresso. I'm Angelique. It's been a busy week for Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs. Here's what his lawyer said.
This was a 10-year relationship. There's no coercion. There's no crime. And we're going to fight this case with everything we have. Eventually, he's going to be shown to be innocent.
Black Voters Matter say they're going to spend $15 million across 12 states.
We'll be doing a little bit of ads and in different forms, radio and billboard. But the majority of our spend that we'll be doing in these battleground states, it's on the ground, right? It's going towards things like door knocks. It's going towards like special events.
Apparently, Halle Berry is a huge horror fan. That's what attracted her to Never Let Go.
I loved the idea of having a family like this be seen in a way that a Black family has never been seen before. I loved the idea of being out in the wilderness, in the woods, in the middle of nowhere. Again, something I hadn't seen before. The idea of being tethered to the house felt fresh to me.
Never Let Go, currently playing in theaters only. That's the Espresso.
This is Cafe Mocha. Radio from a woman's perspective.
It's Cafe Mocha. We're talking to Beth Ann Hardison. The movie is Invisible Beauty. I want to ask you about your activism, and did you find it or did it find you? When did you start becoming an activist?
Well, activism is a very interesting word. I mean, people throw it around like they say friend and love, and, it's almost like sandwich. It's something that, I always, Iman loves the fact that I made this, there's a lot of, when you see the film, you'll notice that too. There's a lot of quick-witted things I say. But activism has to remain active. That's something I coined, and I do say that because I'm not an activist. There are moments I had to be an activist to get things, to shake things up. Advocacy, yes, it's true, because I'm always going to care about this one particular thing. But I think when it comes down to wanting to be an activist, no, you don't think you want to grow up and be an activist. It's not some people wind up being that, and they get paid for it. But that wasn't me. I was basically just trying to change a problem that was in my neighborhood. And I wanted it to be adjusted as quickly as possible and to let those who had made that mistake, to me, a mistake, recognize what it is and how it affects and how they come off if they were, guilty of these things. So I think for me, as a young person, I probably was being an activist in that way or some kind of way. But I didn't see it that way even when I went to that all-white school. I was being bused, but I didn't know that. I made the choice. I was supposed to go to performing arts. I wound up choosing this school because it was like different than anything else. It made me feel like I was going to go on a ride. So I think really you come away from being these things. It's a calling. And I think, like you said, is it call you or did you call it? No, it's a calling. And then afterwards you take your activist hat, you put it down, and you just keep your foot on the clutch, and you're an advocate. And you just know that you have to sort of like, still be responsible for what you've created and hope that you don't have to go back in activism mode again.
Beth Ann Hardison, the movie is called Invisible Beauty. It's out. Thanks for joining Cafe Mocha.
I can't wait to see it.
Yay!
Okay, you better rush on right now.
Want a little more of our flavor? Stay right there. It's Cafe Mocha.
It's Cafe Mocha with Angelique, Yo-Yo, and Lonnie Love. Cafe Mocha remembers some wonderful artists who have passed. First up is Tito Jackson. Tito Jackson was driving from New Mexico to Oklahoma when he had a medical emergency and he passed. We all know Tito Jackson as one of the members of the Jackson 5 and the Jacksons. He was a rock and roll Hall of Famer. He was so unproblematic. He would play his guitar and we loved him. I was honored to meet Tito Jackson through his sons, TJ, Taj, and Terrell, better known as 3T, which was a musical crew that was formed by Tito and his uncle, their uncle, Michael Jackson. And they were the coolest. Tito was the coolest. And Tito ended up coming on my show, The Real, and he even put me in one of his music videos. He was always so fun, about love, unproblematic, and we really are going to miss him. Tito Jackson was 70 years old. Someone that you may not have heard of, her name is Michaela DePrince. She is one of the few Black ballerinas in the world. She passed this week, and Michaela had an interesting story. She was born in Sierra Leone, and during the Civil War, her parents were killed. She was adopted by an American woman named Elaine DePrince and brought to America. She started taking dance classes. One of her teachers actually told Michaela, you know, there are no Black ballerinas. And Michaela did not let that stop her. She actually worked really hard and got into the prestigious Jackie Onassis School of Ballet, where she graduated. She went on to be in the Dance Theater of Harlem as one of the youngest dance members. She ended up going around the world and becoming a member of the Dutch National Ballet and also the Boston Ballet, which is very rare for Black ballerinas. Michaela's mother, unfortunately, within 24 hours of Michaela's passing, Michaela's mother passed. She was having a medical procedure, and she passed during the procedure. Elaine DePrince did not know that Michaela had passed. Michaela will be remembered through her dance, through her projects. She was actually in one of Beyonce's videos for Lemonade, and she was also on Dancing with the Stars. So if you can, look up Michaela DePrince and pay tribute to this young, beautiful Black ballerina. She was 29 years old. Lastly, our man, Frankie Beverly, the Silky Soul singer, has passed. Frankie Beverly, everybody in our community knows about Frankie Beverly. His songs have been a staple within our community. He and his group Maze were discovered actually by Marvin Gaye. Thank you, Marvin, for that. And because of that, we have some of the best songs on the planet. I was honored to meet Frankie Beverly during the Essence Soul Music Festival when I was emceeing it. And, you know, whenever we did the Essence Festival, they would put Maze and Frankie Beverly on a Sunday. And everybody would come in there white. Everybody's all white. Imagine 50,000 people. Everybody's in white. Everybody is singing along. And the last time that we did that, Frankie was having medical issues, but we all sang anyway. And I think he was just honored and amazed behind all of that. Frankie Beverly was 77 years old. Here at Cafe Mocha, we want to give our sincere condolences to all of the passings. We want to give our prayers to all of the family members of Tito Jackson, Michaela DePrince, and Frankie Beverly.
Tuesday, November 5th is closing in on us. I can't stress enough. If you live in a red state, Georgia or Texas, if you live in a purple state, like all my homies in North Carolina, please double check to make sure you're still registered to vote. Georgia especially has purged their system and bumped out a lot of eligible voters. Also, early voting is about to start in Virginia and Illinois. Get all the information you need at vote.org. Until next time, you can find us on all platforms at Cafe Mocha Radio. Cafe Mocha is a production of Miles Ahead Broadcasting in partnership with Super Radio. Executive producer Sheila Eldridge. For comments, booking, or more information, visit cafemocharadio.com.